I thought I found love online, until I woke up in an Indian man's basement. You know how people say love finds you when you least expect it? Yeah, well, mine found me at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday in a Facebook group for vintage teacup collectors. Romantic, right? His name was Rajesh. He had a profile picture that looked straight out of a Bollywood film, hair perfectly parted, smile straight and white. And those captions? My heart beats in the rhythm of love. I should have known right then. But I was lonely. Fresh out of a breakup with a man who said I was emotionally unavailable, because I refused to watch Marvel movies. So yes, when Rajesh messaged me saying, "You have an aura that transcends pixels," I swooned. Or maybe I just hadn't eaten all day. Whatever. Our chat started innocent. He sent me poems. Not good ones, mind you. But the effort was there. He said he lived in London, worked in IT obviously, and was looking for a woman with depth. I had depth. A therapist could write a dissertation on me. We talked for weeks. Voice calls, video calls. Well, sort of. His camera was always broken, but he sent voice notes. Heavy breathing, thick accent, and the occasional sound of goats in the background. I thought he lived near a farm, because I'm stupid. One night, after what I can only describe as a 2-hour sexting session that involved way too many emojis, he said he wanted to meet. In person. In real life. I hesitated. He insisted. He said, "Let us meet, soul to soul. I feel our destinies are entangled." He even offered to pay for my flight. To London. I said no. He said okay. Then offered to come to me. He'd be in the US for business. Sure, Rajesh. Because nothing screams business trip like flying to Ohio for a woman who collects teacups. But again, I was lonely and kind of flattered. He booked the Airbnb, sent me the address. It was in a small town 3 hours from me. Quiet, secluded. Perfect for romance, he said. What I should have done, told a friend. What I did, packed 3 outfits, shaved my legs, and drove off into the woods with no cell signal. Because I have the survival instincts of a grilled cheese sandwich. The Airbnb was odd. Big, gray, cement walls. Felt less like a cottage and more like a meth lab. But hey, love is blind, and I was an idiot. I knocked. The door opened, and there he was. Rajesh. In the flesh, sort of. He did not look like his photo. For starters, he was at least 250 pounds heavier. Bald, sweating, wearing a t-shirt that said, "I love butter chicken," which, in hindsight, was the only honest part of his profile. "Hi," I whispered. "You are more beautiful than cow," he said. I assumed he meant it as a compliment, but I was too shocked to run. He gestured for me to come in. I hesitated. He grabbed my suitcase and waddled away, like I was already his. I stepped inside, and the door slammed shut behind me. Loud. Final, my stomach dropped. Not because of fear, but because the place smelled. Like sweat, onions, and old curry. "You hungry?" he asked. I was not. I was regretting all my life choices, especially the decision to wear a thong. The place had no windows. Just one big room with a mattress on the floor. No bathroom, no kitchen, no signal. He handed me a plate of food. I said I wasn't hungry. He said, "Eat, or I feed you." That's when I realized this wasn't a date. This was a kidnapping. I laughed. Because when I'm nervous, I laugh, and when I'm terrified, I joke. "Is this part of your culture?" I asked. He looked confused, then smiled. "Now we are married. You stay here, forever." I looked around. The walls were lined with chains, actual, metal, chains, and cameras, blinking little red lights. I had walked straight into a trap with really bad ventilation. "I need to pee," I said. He pointed to a bucket. A bucket. I have a college degree, and a bucket was now my toilet. I was officially in hell. That night, he made me sleep on the mattress while he snored like a malfunctioning lawnmower next to me. He tried to spoon me. I spooned him right back, with a fork from the dinner plate, but only in my imagination. The next morning, he took my phone, locked the door, said he had business calls, but I heard no calls. Only loud Indian music and the sound of him dancing. So I did what any woman in captivity would do. I looked for a weapon, found a hairbrush, a fork, and a picture of him dressed as a pirate, which was emotionally damaging enough. There was no Wi-Fi, no windows, no escape. And I knew then I was going to die in Ohio, killed by a catfishing butter enthusiast. But here's the thing about me. I might be stupid, but I'm stubborn. And I was not going to be the star of a Lifetime movie called Trapped by Rajesh. Not today. So, there I was. No phone, no signal, no dignity. In a concrete Airbnb that was actually a basement dungeon hosted by a man who had lied about literally everything except his love for butter. Rajesh, my supposed virtual soulmate, was now my captor. I had gone from flirty texts to bucket bathroom prison in less than 48 hours. Honestly, even my worst Tinder dates ended better. I decided I had two options. One, cry, scream, beg for my life. Or two, survive using my greatest weapon, sarcasm, and passive-aggressive resilience. I chose both, simultaneously. The next morning, Rajesh brought me what he called breakfast. It was a wet lump of something orange wrapped in foil. He smiled proudly. "Paneer, from my auntie, is good for digestion." I looked him dead in the eye and said, "I'd rather digest my own foot." He laughed, which scared me more than if he'd gotten angry. He spent the day trying to bond with me, asked if I liked Bollywood, if I wanted to make many babies, if I was okay with polygamy. I told him I was a nun. He didn't believe me. By day 3, I had accepted that the bucket was my toilet, the mattress was my home, and my perfume now smelled like trauma and turmeric. But something changed that day, because I found it. Hope, in the form of a rat. Yes, a rat. She crawled out from a crack in the wall, sniffed my hair, and instead of screaming, I said, "Oh, thank God, someone's sane." I named her Linda. She became my emotional support rat. Linda was my therapist, confidant, and witness. We whispered at night, plotted escape, planned revenge. Meanwhile, Rajesh was getting comfortable, too comfortable. He started calling me wifey, started talking about our future kids. Said he wanted to name them after Marvel characters, which, ironically, was exactly what my ex had suggested. Maybe I was the red flag. He had one rule: never open the red door. There was a small red door on the far end of the basement, always locked, always humming. Every time I looked at it, I got chills, and not the romantic kind, the Saw franchise kind. I asked him once, "What's behind the door, Rajesh?" He smiled and said, "Past lives." I don't know what that meant, and I didn't want to find out. On day 6, I made my move. When he left for errands, which I later found out meant driving to the gas station for Cheetos, I pried, "Open the vent." It took an hour, a fork, and a lot of rage. But I got it open, just enough to squeeze my arm through. I screamed into it. I'm being held hostage by a butter-loving psychopath. No answer. Except Linda, who looked mildly offended. Later that night, Rajesh tried to get romantic, He brought me flowers from a funeral home. They had a tag that said, "Forever, in our hearts." I looked at him and said, "Appropriate." He tried to kiss me. I vomited, on purpose, all over his shirt. He didn't try again. On day 8, I found his laptop. He had left it unlocked, which, frankly, was insulting. I opened his browser. Do you want to know what the tab said? How to legally marry foreign woman against her will. Is duct tape. Edible. Love spells that actually work. And the worst one. Flight to India one way with unconscious female. I didn't know whether to scream or laugh, so I did both, quietly, while petting Linda. That night, I knew I had to act. I waited until he fell asleep, which was easy. He snored like a dying walrus with asthma. I tiptoed across the room, tried the red door, still locked. But then I remembered something. When he dropped his keys earlier, one had a red sticker. It was subtle, but I notice things. When I'm in survival mode, I tiptoed to his pants. Yes, his pants, which were on the floor, next to a half-eaten burrito and a Bollywood DVD. I grabbed the keys, tiptoed back. I inserted the red one. It clicked. And what I saw inside the red room still haunts me. It was filled with mannequins, dressed in wedding gowns. Each had a photo attached, of a woman. Some were faded. Some looked recent. And on the far wall, a list, with names. Mine was last. Mavra 14. Stephanie. I backed out of the room, closed the door, and I did what any rational person would do. I stole his laptop and his backup phone. Then I ran, barefoot, through the woods, with Linda in my pocket. I don't care what you think. She earned it. I found a road, flagged down a trucker. I looked insane, covered in curry, mascara down my face, holding a rat and a laptop. He let me in anyway. His name was Bill. He had 3 ex-wives and 0 questions. My kind of man. I called the police, told them everything. They raided the house the next day. Rajesh was gone, fled, like a coward in flip-flops. They found the red room, the dresses, the names. They contacted the families. Turns out I was the only one who got out. The others, still missing. Or worse, they found plane tickets, videos, files. He had been doing this for years. And me? I went home, took 27 showers, burned my clothes, adopted Linda, and started therapy. But this story isn't over, because Rajesh was still out there, and I had plans. I never thought I'd become the kind of woman who plotted revenge over a cup of chamomile tea, but here we are. After escaping Rajesh's dungeon of despair, I returned home with a newfound appreciation for freedom, hygiene, and the absence of curry-scented nightmares. But Rajesh was still out there, probably catfishing another unsuspecting woman with his lies and butter chicken charm. I couldn't let that happen. I wouldn't. So, I did what any rational, traumatized woman would do. I became a digital detective. I started by creating a fake profile. Let's call her Priya. Priya was everything Rajesh desired, demure, naive, and obsessed with Bollywood. I uploaded stock photos of a model with doe eyes and a penchant for floral saris. Within hours, Rajesh took the bait. "Hello, beautiful soul," he messaged. "Your aura is like the sunrise over the Ganges." I resisted the urge to vomit and replied, "Namaste, kind sir. Your words touch my heart." We chatted for days. He shared his dreams of a large family, his love for paneer, and his desire for a submissive wife. I played along, feigning interest and innocence. Then, I suggested we meet. He proposed the same secluded Airbnb. I agreed, pretending to be thrilled. But this time, I wasn't going alone. I contacted the authorities, sharing my story and the evidence I'd gathered. They were skeptical at first, but the photos of the Red Room and the list of names convinced them to take action. The plan was simple: lure Rajesh to the Airbnb and catch him in the act. On the day of the meeting, I arrived early with a team of officers in tow. We hid in strategic positions, waiting for our prey. Rajesh arrived, carrying a bouquet of wilted flowers and wearing his infamous "I love butter chicken" t-shirt. He looked around, confused by the silence. "Priya?" he called out. I stepped out, from the shadows, flanked by officers. "Surprise," I said. "Did you miss me?" His face turned pale, then red, then a shade of green I didn't know was possible. Before he could react, the officers apprehended him. As they led him away, I couldn't resist a final jab. Next time, try honesty, and maybe a shower. Rajesh was charged with multiple counts of kidnapping, false imprisonment, and attempted human trafficking. The other victims' families were notified, and investigations into their disappearances were reopened. I testified in court, sharing my harrowing experience. The jury was horrified, and Rajesh was sentenced to life in prison. Justice was served. As for me, I started a support group for victims of online predators. We meet weekly, sharing stories, laughter, and the occasional rat adoption tale. Linda, my loyal rodent companion, became our mascot, a symbol of resilience and unexpected friendship. I've learned that love can be found in the most unexpected places, but so can danger. Now, I trust my instincts, value my worth, and always Google my dates. And if you're out there, Rajesh, enjoying your prison curry, remember, revenge is a dish best served cold, just like your butter chicken.